Judy, hi. You're there in
Hi,
your
David,
studio.
how are you?
I'm good.
I'm in my studio, yeah, in London, sadly, not in Suffolk,
No, was it?
where I wish I was. But I think I'm the only person I know who obeyed
Missed
the
the
government.
boat. No, there are others I know of, I can tell you.
I'm not sure I missed the boat. I felt I made a decision that I shouldn't be in Suffolk because I should be in London. And I'm kind of regretting it in a lot of ways, but it's also fine being in London, even though it's a bit more scary. But it's kind of quite nice being part of a neighbourhood and getting to know people in my street a lot.
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, I think we're all in the same boat. We have to put up with the world we're in. You know, we just have to make it work.
Exactly.
So going back, Judy. I mean, I'm slightly aware of the half-hour Zoom time we have.
Yes, yeah, of course.
Going back to last May in Venice, the work you made, Rakia. Rakia. How do you think that has? How does it feel having made that then, and now we're living in this particular situation? How does that affect?
Well, I think, you know, how it's informed it. I mean, I feel quite happy that we made that film because it's very much about you know, how small we are in the universe. And the idea of the film was to kind of deal with lots of topics that are being covered in astrophysics and just exploring other possibilities. I mean, in my previous life, I was a portrait photographer, and so this is kind of very much outside the zone I've had. But I've had residencies in observatories in North and South America, and just on looking at things about astrophysics, just trying to put together some ideas of what that was, and the smallness of our universe, and about science, of which I never studied at school, and deeply regret that now. And I sit at lectures at UCL kind of trying to puzzle. I mean, even the maths I don't particularly understand, but I find it interesting now that science, we are so beholden to science, and you know, all the kind of human mythologies that anthropology has thrown up is now slightly undercut by science, you know, that has to be proved, and we are now hanging on scientists' every word.
We've got no other option, really. That's, you know.
No, we haven't, but it's interesting that, you know, we can, and particularly with the area that I've kind of sort of specialised in is it has to be provable and understandable and experiment. You know, it's just trying to grasp what that means, and also about our insignificance in the universe as well. I mean, we are just a little pinprick of nothing. So it was about the awe of the world, of the universe, of the planetary systems, of things that are happening in space that we can't see, but we have constant reminders of, and trying to, I mean, to recreate things like with a Large Hadron Collider that I was lucky enough to go to, and you know, that to recreate what happened moments after the Big Bang, you know, with slamming particles of light together. I mean, all these things are fabulous concepts to deal with, and it's exciting to try and use them visually, and not use CGI, just use things that, I mean, things that I filmed and photographed in my travels, and also kind of recreate things in our studios. So it's been kind of quite fun to do that. But also,
sorry, carry on.
Well, I mean, also that I've used the film. I mean, it was shown at WOMAD, and again at your Time and Timelessness conference. And one of the things that I've done in this year is I've had a show at Cambridge, which is at the Alison Richard Building in Cambridge, which is called Travelling Companions. And that was, which the film is showing there, because it continues the work that I've been doing. So it's very much got a life that has continued throughout the year, actually. And also we had a screening in December in a cinema in Brick Lane to show it, and we had a Q&A. So it's got an ongoing life to it.
Does it have an ongoing life as a piece of work that could expand and could become another film about the same subject, or do you think it's a kind of complete entity in itself and you don't go back to it?
Well, interesting that you said that, actually, because I make artist books, and a lot of the artist books that I make are about things astronomical. Yeah. And the last book I made, it was in a show in Zurich, and I was talking to I was showed the film to a publisher on my iPad, and he came up with the idea of making an artist book of the film, which is something I'd never really thought of. And it's like kind of moving all these, transitioning into something else. So it might have another life. I'm not sure that I want to carry on, making something like that, but I'd love to make something else, yes. But I don't know what it would be at this stage. But it was very much Caroline that kind of plucked that idea out of the air. I'd never made it without Caroline's kind of prompting. So I'm very grateful to her and to you for kind of including me in this wonderful project. It's never been made otherwise. So it was, it's a lovely, because I think Caroline was talking about, she knew a bit of the work that I was doing, so I think she kind of came on that. So it was, it's a lovely idea, and I don't know if it will continue. I don't know.
Do you think this idea of being out there in the cosmos or being here on planet Earth and looking out into the cosmos, and your film to some extent took us out into the cosmos and got us to look back. I was talking to Sharon Kivlin the other day, who I know you know, and she was talking about dreaming and how we're all dreaming at the moment. Do you think we're all thinking about the galaxies and the stars and the universe and the planets and being what is out there in a way maybe more now than we would have been 2 or 3 months ago?
I'm one of the few people who aren't dreaming. I think possibly that is the way, because it's so bizarre what's happening to us. I think it's impossible to grasp, and it's like, and I think the dreaming is coming from some kind of suppression of something or other, that we're all slightly comatose or something of what's going on. It could be. Well, I've lost my train of thought for a second. I was about to say something about that.
Dreaming and outer space and
dreaming and outer space. What? Sorry, I've lost it.
Don't worry. But do you think? Now I've lost mine. So do you think?
Malaise and. No, I know. I remember what I wanted to say now. So it's the fact that you mentioned about planets and things. Like one of the projects that I've been doing during lockdown, which again relating back to artist books, I'm part of a group of people that make artist books, and we have to submit proposals, and then they're accepted by a curator and exhibited at art fairs throughout the world. And the one that I proposed before this lockdown was I was going to photograph the sky in Suffolk every night, and so but very tiny kind of pinpricks of the stars as they moved across the sky, but from my back garden. And so I was itching to get down to do that in Suffolk, but actually I've been photographing from my house in London in lockdown, and we've, it's been incredible. We've had all these amazing moons, flower moons, pink moons, rose moons,
meteor showers,
Venus kind of right in front of my, I've been photographing that, and incredible rainbows, and we've had the most extraordinary weather systems because the skies are so clear, and we haven't got planes going past or anything. So I've managed to, I think, but using the interior and the window frames and things, it's been quite interesting. So we have, maybe that is part of the outer space thing, that we have had these extraordinary celestial events that have been going on that are very exciting, and who knows whether we'd have seen them, or the skies would have been so clear.
We probably wouldn't have had the time or the inclination to do it if we'd been in a normal world. We'd have been
exactly in a normal world. I wouldn't, you know, I'd have gone out, go to the theatre or something like that. And so this intense looking and excitement of what is happening in front of me and outside my window all the time. You know, it is interesting about that time and wanting to do things as well.
When you look into the stars up, you know, into the night sky, obviously, particularly with your cameras, you've got powerful lenses and, you know, long exposures and all these things which can see that incredibly clearly. And obviously, with, you know, with some of the bigger telescopes now, we can see things in a way that is mind-boggling. And with your film, you played with reality and illusion quite a lot. I mean, can you tell us a bit more about the reason for that? What were you? Was it tongue in cheek, or was it what?
No, I think no, it wasn't something. It was just trying to. The illusion was obviously I'm not going to be able to film things, you know, because I'm not in the Hubble Space Telescope. So you have to make, and also because, you know, the particles and the mass and materials of what we have here are from our, you know, in the universe anyway. I'm not sure it was tongue in cheek. I mean, a lot of things like colliding neutron stars that we've got in the film, which actually I made a book about as well, was you know, it's just trying to create it, because all the, when you go to these lectures, you can, you know, you're never going to see a colliding neutron star, so it's all, you know, it's all graphics so it's quite fun. I mean, Stephen came up with the idea of, you know, billiard balls and things, and, you know, we had things going around on record decks, and I mean, it's just quite fun.
Now, he told me there was an embargo on how you did it.
Yes, yes, there absolutely is, because Stephen always wants to talk about how we did it, and I don't actually want to talk about it, and I just have. But
well, that's fascinating, and I don't think it matters when you look at the film. I knew how it's done, or bits of it were done, and then I saw it again at Time and Timelessness, and actually didn't make it less believable. Really, it was
really well. That's nice. I mean, it's interesting also where you see it, isn't it? About how it affects you. I mean, I think looking at it in Venice with its split screens, I don't know if it enhanced it terribly much. I mean, I think for some artists it must have worked very well. I'm not sure it made any.
Well, some artists decided they only wanted to use one screen. You know, some people wanted it, you know, mirrored, or, you know. I used two screens, but because I had two different films playing. So I think it was a question of, you know, whatever people wanted to do with it. Do you think it moved your work forward, or your thinking forward at all, making that film?
Yes, well, I think it did, because it was hugely exciting to make, and it was fun working in collaboration with Stephen on that, because I don't ever really collaborate with people. I have shows with people, but not you know, actually making work together. So that was an interesting thing.
Was that the first collaboration you'd done with Stephen?
It's really hard to know. Yes, yeah, I can't even remember how it came about particularly. But he's very practical and likes doing, you know, kind of inventing things like, and I kind of knew the kind of things that I wanted to recreate, and I'd also filmed quite a lot of things on my residencies in the observatories that I was lucky enough to be in. And I mean, I'm just so happy I went to those places, because it won't happen again. But also it won't happen again because science, you know. Yes, yeah, I've with my camera. Yes, I filmed things like kind of sunspots and kind of eclipses. I was in America when there was an annular eclipse, and I was in a solar telescope photographing, you know, in real time, the kind of sun moving, the sunspots and things. I mean, all those kind of things. It's exciting, and and the Large Hadron Collider and all sorts of things, Northern Lights, lots of kind of phenomena, outer world phenomena, which are exciting. So I'm not sure whether I don't know if I'll make another film, but I'd made a little film for the show that I had previously to the one in Cambridge at the Freud Museum, which I had a show with Faye Ballard on childhood bereavement, and interestingly, my father was had died when I was 1, and he was taken by polio, which is another kind of pandemic, really, wasn't it? And it's interesting that here we are in another one, and it's very weird to think.
It's really scary. Polio took a very long time to get rid of, really,
well, it did, but maybe we're in the same boat now. But it's interesting. Kind of I've photographed an iron lung where he spent the last few months of his life, and that kind of, there we all were again. We all knew everything about ventilation, didn't we? I mean, they've now realised it's not so efficacious now, this ventilation that's going on for people. But it's interesting how this cyclical thing is happening. Pandemics. But it's interesting that it's obviously going to make a lot of artwork, isn't it?
It's inevitable, I think. It's making the art world respond in a particular way, in that nothing's physical anymore. We can only do it,
like this. One thing I have done during lockdown, which I've really enjoyed doing, is this artist pledge. I don't know if you're involved.
Oh yes, I know about it.
But I bought quite a few things from other artists, and I think it's such a great idea. And
it's a great idea for of course, a lot of artists are giving things, but they're also buying things. So
that's quite a bit.
Share it out a bit.
It's just kind of changing the economy a bit, which is fantastic. It's completely wonderful. But I just wanted to talk about my show in Cambridge just for a bit, because it's still on, because it was on. This was another show with Faye, and it's called Travelling Companions. And again, it's the curator, Rose Spanky. The idea was things that you take with you through your life. And Faye has objects from her childhood, and Ro kind of was talking about the travellers use the stars as their travelling companions. So that was the idea. And this particular show, which is still on and will probably be on forever, because
somebody can carry it away.
if it'll ever be taken
Can
down.
we see it digitally? Is it available on a digital platform?
Yes, it's online. Well, I've made a kind of 3-minute film of it, a kind of quick whip around it.
So where can people see that?
It's on my website,
which is
judygoldhill.com. But it's also on the Crash website, which is the Centre for Research in Art, Social Sciences and Humanities, which is a Cambridge website. But also we had an online exhibition where we invited something like 35 people to choose their travelling companions, and that's also online as well on the Alison Roberts building. Alison Robert building website, ARB, and Crash, and it's called Objects on the Week. And I think that will be there forever as well, because it's a virtual thing. And there are lots of writers, artists, scientists.
So travelling companions meaning anything from a football to a human being, to a dog, to a
Yes. So I mean, it's quite interesting. So lots of people, we had quite a few bits of jewellery, and one scientist chose. It's go and see it. Have a look at it on the web, because it's really great, and I'm hoping that that might turn into a book or something like that. So it's kind of, there are lots of things that have spun off about it. And, maybe one day when this is over, the show will be open again.
Who knows? The thing is, of course, a lot of museum galleries, exhibiting spaces have got schedules, haven't they, which are all booked in maybe 18 months, 2 years, 3 years ahead. And for all these artists who've missed this slot in a way, it could just be your show comes down with never having been seen in the flesh. It's terribly sad, really, particularly for those artists involved.
I know, it's terrible, isn't it? I mean, we were lucky to have our show up for like 2.5 weeks before lockdown, and we had a symposium and a conference as well. But it's up there, and probably, I don't know, it's very frustrating, because we want it to travel and no one gets to see it. But it's all virtual now, isn't it?
Maybe it will travel in other ways.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what about your plans over the last few weeks, couple of months? How have they been affected by?
Well, like not being able to go to Suffolk,
Yeah.
my house there, and so making my work in London, and well, not being able to see my family very much. I mean, I think that's quite difficult. I mean, I'm you know, it's a very strange world. I do lots of drawing as well. So I do a drawing class at the Royal Drawing School. So we actually meet up on Zoom every week, and we set ourselves projects and things like that.
Which class are you doing? Which course?
I do it with, it's life drawing, so with Daniel Chatto, and it's the most wonderful class. I absolutely love it. But it's weird because we've been doing self-portraits and things like that. But I know you can do online drawing classes, but drawing a model online doesn't appeal to me terribly.
Not quite the same.
It's not quite the same. So
it's a bit like the physical artwork. It's quite difficult online always, you know, unless it's intended for that platform. It's
exactly. But I mean, I've noticed that. I mean, they're trying to do it on the telly, aren't they, on Channel 4?
Tonight, I think, or tomorrow night. I can't think of anything worse, but there we are. Let's see.
I can't think of anything worse either. I know exactly. Yeah, you know, I'm trying to be as good. I've turned my house into a studio, really. I've got tripods everywhere, easels everywhere. Just, you know, it's just rather nice, kind of drawing, painting, musing, a lot of chatting on the phone, which is what one doesn't normally do you? I mean, I don't anyway.
And how is your work? What's the output of your work? I mean, in terms of, obviously there's a drawing, it's on a piece of paper with a pencil or charcoal or whatever. When you take a photograph, you're using digital means these days?
I'm digitally doing that, but this is all for a book that I'm doing. So and so, but I'm printing it all out. So it might be a show. It'll definitely be an artist book of some kind.
And you do the printing, or do you have?
I do the printing. Yeah. But I think when it's time, I haven't really decided how I'm going to do the book yet, because the guy who makes my books, I think I gather is just going back to work next week, so I'm going to have endless conversations like this about how to.
When you make your books, how many copies do you make in edition with these artists?
Not very many. It's usually between 10 and 20. What also happened this year is the British Library bought all my books, all the articles that I've made. So I've made about 15. So all my books are in their collection now, which is great.
I've seen some of them. They're very beautiful. So it's nice to have them all in one place.
I'm thrilled that they're all in one place. So you know, it's fabulous. Every time I go past the British Library, it's like. So I don't know quite what this is going to like, but I've just kind of stocked up on lots of photographic paper, and I'm going to start printing and, you know, seeing what I'm going to do. And hopefully if I get to Suffolk, then I'll do that book as well.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't know, a show where, but I mean, that's going to be years off exhibitions, aren't they? Because
as an artist, Judy, are you somebody who is compelled to make work, or do you need the stimulus, if you like, of a book or an exhibition or something? You know it's going to go somewhere.
I think both. So I mean, I very need that kind of. You know, with the book, it's great because you know that you've got to have it ready by some book fair that's coming up. But I also, I mean, I like making work incidentally, but I do like having the terror of the deadline, because it compels you to work more.
Yeah, and
I mean, I've got proposals in with actually another proposal with Faye and the Rowe, who's the curator of the last shows, which we're working on. But I mean, you know, who knows if there's going to be any money for anything anymore? You know, but so it's interesting to have the time to think about the projects that we want to do, and you know, to mine the materials that I have.
Yeah. Maybe the future isn't so much about them. I mean, you know, there has been lots of money spent on art in the last couple of decades, and you know, maybe we will resort to a slightly less sort of I mean, impressive is probably the wrong word. The work is still the same, but very often the mounting of the show could be done in lesser ways, or in
in a different way.
Yeah, I mean, artists will get their message out, won't they? So.
Yes. No. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I do think, the virtual stuff, I mean, especially with photographs and films, I mean, it's all on screens anyway, but there might be a move away from that. We might have had enough of that by then. I don't know. It's hard to know. But I mean, with the show in Cambridge, my work is very big. The point of it is the scale. So phase drawings are quite small, and my work is really big, and it's mounted on aluminium and huge, all wallpaper. So it's those kind of things. You need huge spaces to
of course,
like that, to create that kind of tension. But yeah, maybe who knows how it's all going to pan out. I mean, does anyone have any money anymore anyway? We
will see. What, if any, Judy, do you think are the positives of this time? What other things which you can see which are good things rather than terrible?
I think maybe. I mean, probably, which is ironic for me to say, less traveling, because I do a lot of traveling, and for me it's really important to go places and things. And maybe it's better for the planet if I'm not traveling so much, and being part of a community, which is quite joyful, I think. But also realizing what you really value and miss in your life, and wondering whether when you'll get that back, and whether life will kind of pick up again. Will we ever go to the cinema or the theatre again?
No, I think at the moment I'm actually rather sort of gloomy about that prospect, that it's not going to be for some time, actually.
I thought of it, but I mean, that I'm so looking forward to just having supper with friends and drinking lots of champagne and all those things. And swimming, I'm desperately missing swimming. But I don't know what the positive is. I mean, there has to be some positive. I think kindness. I think people are much kinder and have more time for each other, and more caring. I mean, in my streets, people are doing all taking food to the food banks, and everyone checking in with each other all the time. And if someone needs something, it's there in a second. And that I find really, really lovely. And we're busy planning street party whenever we're allowed to do that.
I love that optimism.
Exactly. More champagne, more parties.
Okay, I think, in a way you've probably answered my last question, really, which is the one burning thing you want to do, when
drink champagne,
properly let out.
My family, yes, hug people, physical, dance, all those things. Yeah, I'd say that. Yeah.
Judy, I'm going to say goodbye because I'm slightly worried about the Zoom situation, and I don't want to just suddenly...
Thank you so much. It's been really lovely. Thank you so much. And, I feel bad it's a one-way street because I'm not asking you questions, but this
that's good. That's good. Another time maybe. But
I'm hoping...
Stephen actually did ask some questions of me and Caroline in another interview a few days ago, so you can see that. But they're different sorts of questions.
Yes.
So anyway, lovely to see you, Judy, and we will be in touch. And
yes, exactly.
Good luck with it all, and
well, thank you so much, and thank you.
Very soon.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.